All right, what's going on, good people? Coming with a little bit more of a somber mood on this particular video. As we recently have heard of the passing of, and tragically, surprisingly, and unfortunately, as always, the passing of John Huber, which to some people knew him as Luke Harper, to others knew him as Brodie Lee, to others a little bit more personally knew him as John Huber. This one kind of, I think, surprised us all. Of course, Casey and Adam with me as well. I think it surprised us all because it was just completely out of the blue. And it wasn't like, he was a little bit on the older side, so you eventually think it's gonna happen. No, this was just out of the blue, surprising, and I think those are the hardest ones. I don't know how. I know, like. And I've been thinking about kind of how I want to put my words together, and I still can't. But like, I think these are the hardest ones. The ones where you lose somebody in their prime. They all suck, which is one of the interesting parts about the wrestling fan base. Is like we connect so much with these people, whether they're legends, sometimes they're jobbers, sometimes they're mid-carders, sometimes they're tag team guys. But like, we connect with these guys on such a personal level, no matter really who it is, and especially when it's in their prime, I think it hurts that much more. Of course, it makes me think back to like Eddie. Eddie was one who we lost in his prime, and it was just so heartbreaking because you knew he had so much more to give and so much more that he could have done. And I think this is the same way. Whereas like Brodie, John had so much more he could give us. And it felt like he was hitting like a second peak almost. Like I think, for me, I was first introduced to Brodie Lee as Luke Harper in WWE, and as with the Bludgeon Brothers, the Wyatt family, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, this dude's freaking good. I remember, I think Casey and I were talking during a video. It was when he was going after the Intercontinental Championship and Eric Rowan was hurt as usual. Eric Rowan was hurt. And, we were like, this guy freaking deserves this. He deserves this title run right now. This was before.
Eric Rowan was attending to his gigantic spider.
Right. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Right. His gigantic spider that of course, when Harper left, he had to, find another partner. So, the spider had to come into play. But it was very, it was interesting seeing and sad, and just made me really sad seeing all the different, just tributes to him. Like Enzo had a really heartfelt tribute to him, as Sarah says. Randy Orton had a very heartfelt tribute to John as well. It just, it's just a sad situation, and I'm definitely interested to hear kind of you guys' thoughts, especially when you first heard the news, because I think we were all very like, no, and I guess it was one of those situations where it was very out of the blue, so you were like, nah, no way, not let me go fact check myself and make sure this isn't some internet hoax or something. I got to go see and make sure, that this isn't somebody trolling or something like that, because that does happen from time to time, and it wasn't. And I think some of us would have been better off if it was a troll. But it's definitely sad, very sad news. I was just upset about it, and I haven't even watched any of the tributes yet, because it's just like I want to, but I don't think it's clicked with me yet either. Like, I don't know if I'll have to see the Dark Order without him, see the graphic on the screen. I don't know. Like, it hasn't clicked for me as a wrestling fan, being a fan of his. And of course, he hadn't been on TV for a little bit of time. So I think that was kind of interesting too. Like, whereas with Eddie, he had been on TV like literally the week before. So it really, was like, oh my goodness. And then like, Brodie hadn't been on TV for a couple of weeks now, but nonetheless, I mean, it's definitely was sad for me. I guess we'll go to Casey first as Adam gets settled. Casey, how when you heard the news, how were you feeling, and kind of anything else you've been, I guess, thinking about throughout the entire last couple of days, really?
I man, I don't know what to think. I really, like you said, it was out of the blue. Nobody saw this coming. As soon as I heard it was a non-COVID related lung disease or whatever, I was a little bit, relieved that at least it wasn't COVID. But at the same time, you know, is it something that he's had for a while? There's so many questions that I don't think necessarily need to be answered, because the more important thing is that we lost somebody who was an amazing part of the business. And I think a lot of, not so much as he's been in AEW, but before that, I think there were a lot of people that he kind of went under the radar. Um, Especially in WWE, I think he was just a member of, to a lot of people, he was just a member of the Wyatt family, or he was just a member of the Bludgeon Brothers. And a lot of fans, I don't think, really realized what he really meant to the business and what he meant to people in the business and what the business meant to him. I remember seeing, like, I've seen indie matches of his before he came to WWE, or went to WWE, I should say. And there's so many guys that love this guy so much, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like, and not saying that that he's more important than anyone else that we've lost, but I feel like I've seen so much more outpouring of messages and posts about Brodie Lee, Luke Harper, from everybody than I remember seeing from a lot of other guys who have passed away. Like,
Yeah, I think this is the first person, besides of course Shad too, earlier this year, that we lost kind of in their prime too.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I don't think we've lost anybody in their prime that I can't think of, and I could be missing someone. And if I am, let me know. But like since Eddie, no, since Benoit, really, actually, and that was before the social media era. I mean, shoot, social media would have went crazy that day, but like that was before like social media was this huge thing. Like, it was a thing, but it wasn't what it is now, where everybody is online connecting with people and giving out their news and their spoilers and their responses and their reactions. So yeah, I think because he was in his prime, and he was in his prime on a prominent wrestling show every single week, and he's in this social media era where every response, every thought, every reaction, you can see it with literally the type of his name. I think that's why it feels that way. But Adam, what what do you think about the news, and of course what Casey said as well?
In the circumstance was out of control, because the three of us were going back and forth um, about with the Dolphins and the Raiders game and whatnot. I was out to dinner with my wife, and I had already knew that Brodie was out for a long period of time. I would say it's been whenever the dog collar match was, because I don't think we've seen him since, or shortly thereafter we haven't seen him since. But it had struck me again sitting at the table. I'm like, I want to see if there's any news on him, on like why specifically he was out, because it was kept very, very quiet, which is a good thing. I don't have to hear every bullet point on somebody when they're out. Again, how can I miss you if you don't go away? Um, so I Googled and I said, where has Brodie Lee been? Blah, blah, blah. And I got an article saying that Meltzer surmised that I think it is an ankle injury. And I said, okay, that makes sense. And, he didn't, they're not traveling, so he doesn't have to get to TV, right away. And I mean, not even 5 minutes later, I don't know if it was one of you guys or if I saw it on Twitter, then I got the notification that he had passed. And I just, quietly, because if this was at home, I would have definitely, exhaled more of like, what the, because I was in literal shock. And she says, "What's wrong?" I said, "You won't know him." I said, "But a wrestler, a well-known wrestler now, just passed." And she goes, "Like, oh, that sucks." And then scrolling through, and then I'd seen, I don't know who had made the explanation, saying that he had this lung disease that not COVID related. And I'm not trying to have any expertise on this, because I am in no way an expert on this. If this was something long lasting, or this had been an affliction of his for a while, COVID could spark it to make it worse. But again, right now, that's all we can go by. That if it was non-COVID related, I gotta take that on the surface of it. I gotta take it for what it is. But it sucked, and we're not saying one's worse than the other, because this year has been garbage. So really, like, what does it matter? Me personally, Shad's passing affected me more, just given the circumstances of what happened to him. A terrible accident. It should not have happened that way. But I mean, he's a damn hero, and his boys should be proud. But anyway, and Brodie got so much talent, so much talent, so much to give. If anybody had listened to Jericho's podcast with him, you could tell the frustration. Which, aside from things with Jericho now, I have really enjoyed those episodes where somebody leaves WWE and they get to not give the dirty laundry, but just vent. Just vent to people on what he was dealing with. And I could see his frustration, because he was trying to get away. Like, I'm not just the guy from the Wyatt family. I will tell you this. I went to SmackDown here in Dayton. I think this was like June of 2017. And he was facing Jinder in a, again, non-title, but nonetheless, it was the main event, or, high on the card. When I tell you, and this is not hyperbole, Daniel Bryan came back that night. And I would say, with the exception of that, in terms of performance, Brodie got the biggest reaction of the night. And it was a great match, hard hitting. And it's just, it sucks too, because, he was always, big, but obviously it wasn't chiseled. He had gotten trimmed down and looked really good. And now he's almost like a linebacker now, chiseled, athletic build, whatever. Though I love the way he moves in the ring. He's got a unique look with the beard and the hair and all that jazz. And they just never quite knew what to do with him as a single. It's like they didn't let him be himself, which, and maybe elements of Luke Harper was his real personality, but it seemed like they like that was always just sprinkled in, like, well, this is the guy that used to be with the Wyatt family, da 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 da. Loved him and Rowan as the Bludgeon Brothers. He didn't dislike it, but I think they made it way too cartoony for them. And the big thing, I think, that's affected both of them is that they both kept getting hurt. And that's not necessarily doesn't kill you, but it also doesn't do you any favors, because for some reason they forget about you real quick. But and then he goes to AEW and gets a boost with the Dark Order, and I'm not trying to all make this about booking, but I can see and appreciate him making him the leader. I just didn't like the fact that it was just constant digging at Vince with the vignettes and all that jazz. It's like no, like you did it once. Now let's start to separate from it, But I mean, above all else, this is absolutely horrific. He was finally getting some recognition that he deserved, being in a prominent spot, and it's just unfortunate. It was he was only what, like 41, so it is way way too young, and I feel horrible for his family, guys on the roster. It Once the news came that you see all the other wrestlers, whether it be AEW, WWE, or in other promotions, man, you started seeing those pictures pop up left and right, and he seemed like a genuinely good dude, and it just sucks that a guy like that is not around anymore.
Yeah, I agree too. He was trending, I think, number one out of everything that was going on, which shows you his reach and how many people he impacted, not only in the business, but of course outside of the business and fans as well. But like you said, I never really felt like in WWE he got the chance to be himself. He either was with the Wyatt family, he was tied to Eric Rowan, or he was separated for a second from Eric Rowan just to be put back with Eric Rowan. Because when they did do that little split off for a little bit, they didn't really let either one of them be anything more than just two guys from the Wyatt family, pretty much. Only thing I remember was Eric Rowan saying, "I don't like bullies." That's the only thing. That's the only thing I remember from that whole run with Eric Rowan. Even though I love Eric Rowan, don't get me wrong, Big Red's my guy. But nonetheless, I mean, I always loved Luke Harper as like, I mean, he just was the like total package to me. He had, especially once you got a chance to see him in AEW, you got to see a chance to, you got a chance to see his promo skills a little bit more than you did in WWE. Because, of course, in the Wyatt family, he wasn't the speaker of the family. That was Bray. But, he got a little bit more than in AEW, more than grunting. So that was nice to see. So that kind of showed you how good he was as a promo guy going after the TNT title when he did with Cody.
And then work too. I think if you put them side by side between Bray, Eric, and him, to me, he was the standout in terms of in ring work. Bray is a freak, but just in terms of overall skill set, I thought Brodie outshined all three of them.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I think getting a chance to see him a little, because I liked the little bit of singles work that he did in WWE. Because like I said, Casey and I, when we were reviewing those shows back then, we were really like, this guy's got to get the title. There's no way this guy doesn't have the title. Like, what is going on? And then, of course, he did finally win it. I don't think he won it for very, very long, but, it felt like he was very much so a workhorse for that title. But then, of course, he went to AEW and got a chance to do a little bit more promo work, be a little bit more of a star, of a figurehead of that company. And I think that helped too. I think that helped to show you how well-rounded he was if all you remember is him grunting from the Wyatt family as far as like his promo style. But, I mean, like we said before, it definitely sucks. It saddens me. It makes me want to, it's just one of those things where like you got to kind of, and we've talked about it before, enjoy it while you got it, because you never know. And that's in every situation. But, especially us as wrestling fans, like enjoy these guys while you got these guys, because that don't mean they're going to be there next Monday, next Tuesday, next Wednesday, whatever day their show may be on. And, I'm definitely saddened by it. Casey, did you have anything else to say that you wanted to say? I didn't know if you guys had anything more.
I mean, I'm just kind of, I'm thinking more, less like wrestling really, just because like from everything that I've seen and all the people that are posting, and like there's people that I have worked with that maybe didn't know him personally, but knew people that knew him personally. And like, this is bigger than just the business too, because he was such, from everything that I've heard, he was such a genuine person. You know, he's the kind of person you would want to share a locker room with. He's the kind of person that, you know, you want to learn from, that you want to kind of be around. And you know, I've heard, you know, he was an even better husband and father. Like, just the video that Enzo put out on Instagram, that right there kind of encapsulates really what he meant to so many people in the business. And that's the kind of person that you want to be. Like, that's the kind of person I want to be. That's the kind of person I want to associate myself with. Somebody that really cares about the business, cares about their family, cares about, you know, other workers, you know, isn't in it just for themselves. You know what I mean? And he, from everything that I've seen, that's him. You know what I mean? It's I don't even know if there's anything really else to say. It's just, it's still a shock, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it sucks too, because, you know, like, I hate that you have to like have this type of a situation to really learn about someone. You know, like, it really took like this unfortunate situation for us to really understand how amazing of a husband and a father. Because like I mean, I didn't know anything about Brodie Lee as a person, and I think wrestling is one of those odd, you know, oddities in that way, where you don't really get to learn about the person all the time past the wrestling ring. You know about them in the ring, and then usually later on, either whether it be into their retirement or after their lives, that you kind of hear like, this dude was a genuine stand-up guy, like you said with Enzo and his emotional Instagram video that he put out. You know, he was talking about how selfless Brodie was, in terms of letting him do his comeback on him, even though, you know, of course, Brodie was established at the time. Enzo was a little bit more of an up-and-comer. Even said in the city, you know, nobody kind of knew who Enzo and Cass were. But at the same time, it was like, you know, the selfless, you know, that was, he even said like, it wasn't just that in the ring. It was that, you know, outside of the ring. It was that, it was that outside of the ring. It was that in every facet of his life. And, you know, as much as I hate that this happened, like, I am glad that I got a chance to understand and get to know the person behind the wrestler that I've enjoyed watching for so many years. But Adam, you got anything and any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Fuck 2020.
Got a point and a question for both of you, but like, you've already hit the nail on the head. You know, enjoy a lot of these guys while you still have them, because again, like that, you know, as Jim Ross always says, tomorrow's never guaranteed. I mean, the Wyatt family versus the Shield, some of the best programs I have ever seen. Those are hard hitting, and that was it. Big shock. That's the epitome, literally, of heels versus baby faces. They're tremendous, and I'm going to miss that figure in the ring, because whatever how he was booked, good or bad, you know, that's for a different topic. But just watching him as a performer is going to be very, very hard to go forward with him not being there. In the same breath, not even the ones that have passed just this year. What wrestler's death in your lifetime has affected you the most?
For me, it's Savage, because I was always a huge fan of Savage. and that also was a shock. I mean, obviously he wasn't in his prime, and he had been retired for a while, but it's one of those things where like I remember my mom like when I was a kid, and like for some reason we were talking about JFK and his assassination, and she said that she remembered exactly where she was when she heard.
Right.
And she said that there's certain times where you're always going to remember exactly where you were. Savage is one of those things. I will remember to the day I die exactly where I was when I found out. And like I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now. I will never forget exactly where I was when I found out he died. It's it's insane.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
especially when you find out the circumstances around it. I mean, yes, it was heart attack, car crash, but literally, this is from Terry. This is from Hogan. They had ran into each other at that clinic where Terry was getting some work done, and Savage was taking his mom to get a checkup. But they had said let's do this checkup on his heart, and he goes, no, I'll deal with that later. Had they had that little checkup, whatever, that they probably could have got him well, or at least got things under control, and then shortly thereafter that happened. But DJ, what about you?
I think for me, for I think obvious reasons of the shock and awe and kind of how it changed literally everything we see now. I think for me it was Benoit, because like it was sad when it happened because very similar to Eddie, where like you just saw him, so you're like, what? Like nah, like let me make sure make sure I check my my sources. Let me make sure I got another article or something to make sure this is right. But like then you get what was behind it. You get the details after the fact. It wasn't like it wasn't your typical wrestling death, and it's out, and it's probably the most notable out of all of them. And like I mean, even to this day, like when they do the documentary, I remember watching The Dark Side of the Ring with it. I'm fascinated by it, but at the same time, I like it. Just makes me like it like gives me goosebumps almost, in the worst way possible. And it's like I was watching The Dark Side of the Ring, and like it took me back like to the time where I was like, where I heard about it, and where I heard about the details, and I watched the tribute show, and then the tribute show disappeared, and like it took me back to it was like all of those things. And I think for me, I think it was Benoit over anybody else, not because he was any better or worse than anybody, but I think it was just the circumstances around it that just hurt the most.
Yeah, and that was that was going to be one of my one of my points. Like I put Chris in a different category just because of the unique circumstances around it, because that was the craziest 24 hours I think in the history of the business, just because it went from Chris Benoit and his wife and his son have passed away. We don't know anything else. And we should do something on that one of these times. Maybe not just that episode, but Dark Side of the Ring as a whole, because there is a third season coming, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's one particular episode that I'm really looking forward to, and I
I
know
think I think we all like if we all watch it, I think we all know which one you're talking about.
well we'll within the chat, whatever, we'll see whatever, because you may be surprised on what I'm speaking of, but I could be way wrong. But anyway, but it just went from we he has passed away, his family's passed away. All you can they thought they were servicing the audience, and you'll see this if anybody wants to. The series is amazing. there is some things about that series that's frustrating, but I think you have to kind of give them a little bit of rope because you can only squeeze in so much in an hour episode. That's why I wish they would just extend it to maybe 2 hours, but nonetheless, but like I said, his death I put in a different category. This is kind of a cop out, but for the you didn't see that coming, the the suddenness of it, the one that really affected me the most, just because it affected everybody on that stage, was Eddie. Eddie's was what was hard because especially when you heard what happened when they zoomed in on Chavo on the stage, I lost it. Just for the simple fact that he literally died in Chavo's arms. It's terrible. And then again, that's the thing with the Dark Side of the Ring episode. It's the part one is almost an Eddie and Chris story, and then the second part is mainly on Chris. But yeah, Eddie's was really rough because again they pan to everybody and they're just the tears are flowing. And then the only other one I can think of that was up to that level in terms of the boys having that type of reaction to somebody passing was obviously Owen. And God, I can talk for 5 hours on Owen and that particular incident. But believe it or not, overall, the one guy that really affected me the most, just for the simple fact of this is a guy that I've literally watched since I was 7, 8 years old, was Bobby Heenan. And just for the simple fact of he was just withering away, and it was just sad to watch. Having his jaw removed, he couldn't talk. The guy, literally one of the best talkers ever. The one thing that gives him that purpose is taken away from him. But if you listen to people, he was still jovial, still funny. I mean, he could only do it through body motion at that point. But I was listening to Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson's podcast at the beginning of their show. They did an episode on Bobby. Right at the beginning, they played the WWE clip of them doing the tribute to Bobby, and they're playing the Hawaiian version of "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." And I was here at work, and I was just, but again, it's almost like a sports figure retiring. When it reaches that end, it affects you. You've watched this person growing up, and now they're gone. So, but yeah, they like wrestler wise in that context is definitely Eddie, but like overall in terms of the business, it's the Brain.
I mean, and we've lost some incredible people this year. I like because I was hoping that Kobe would be the one unfortunate one we could talk about and kind of be done with how bad the year would be, but that was just the beginning.
I can't believe how long ago that was now.
That's coming up a year, guys. That's coming up on a year already.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It seems like it was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, seriously, that's exactly what I said. Like it literally feels like it was a couple of weeks ago.
And the other thing I would say, and this is just in general to fans, is appreciate these guys, like DJ was saying, and not even just what they're doing now. Like I said with Brodie, he came up in the Indies. He did everything he had to do. He I can't even. I'm at a loss, but like, really appreciate these guys. Watch some of their old stuff. Watch stuff that they did in the Indies, and not just guys that have passed away. Guys that are in WWE now, or guys that are in AEW now. Appreciate where they came from. Appreciate what they've done to get to where they are. And I know not everybody. We kind of joke about it sometimes. Where like the WWE fans or the average fan isn't going to know a lot of these indie promotions. But man, ask somebody. You know what I mean? shoot me a message on Instagram saying, hey, is there any, indie stuff that I should be checking out, of guys in WWE now or guys in AEW or, guys that I think are, the future of the business. I will gladly send you videos and promotions and stuff because I feel like these guys, they work so hard. And yeah, obviously the goal is WWE, the goal is AEW, whatever. But man, you got to appreciate where they came from and, see what they've done to get here. Then that'll give you a whole new appreciation. Because that helped me get a new appreciation a while back of Luke Harper. Because I, like I said, I had seen some of his indie stuff before he came to WWE, but when he had that Intercontinental program with, it was Dolph, right?
Dolph.
I think it was. Yeah, that was when I was really like, you know what? I really want to go back and look at more of what he did on the indies. And, he was hungry. He really wanted it. You could tell. And, definitely check these guys out. Stuff that they did before WWE, because, it's not just WWE. You don't just, walk into WWE. Well, some people just walk into WWE and get a contract. But the majority of people don't just walk into WWE. They work for years and years and years, and appreciate that. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you appreciate Mojo Rawley.
Yeah, he's the one you gotta. Yeah.
You gotta stay hyped for. Anyway, shout out to Brandon. Thanks for tuning in, of course, and giving us your feedback as well. Happy holidays and happy New Year to you as well. But real quick, for the people watching, Casey will send you a floppy disk of some indie stuff if you need some older indie stuff. He's still got the floppy disk, back in his archives.
I think I got some VHSs, some old VHS tapes.
I've got a laser disc. I got a laser.
Couple laser discs. I do.
He'll send it to you through AOL IM.
Yeah. I have some 4 tracks of some entrance music. So if anyone's interested in that, yeah.
Real quick, my last point, and I said this earlier this year, and I'm gonna continue to say it until they start listening to me. Wrestling companies, you're now included. You were included before, but you're really included now. Wrestling companies, you're included. Sports leagues, NBA, NFL, NHL, CFL. I don't care. If you don't start making documentaries on these, yes. If you don't start making DVDs and documentaries of these people, this is the perfect time to do it. Start it now. So then that way you got it. If something crazy like this happens, because I remember when Kobe passed, I was like, yeah, there better be a documentary like tomorrow. Like they better have been working on this and not waited until later. So and the reason that I say that is because when we watched Casey and I talked about The Last Dance. When we watched The Last Dance and we got to hear Michael Jordan's thoughts in his old age, that was nice. That was nice to see. We want to see them in their not old age per se, but like at least Casey age, semi old, but not old Casey. You know what I mean? His retired age. Sorry, retired age. My bad. But go ahead.
Did you just call the GOAT old?
Hear me out, dude.
Hear me out, dude. You suck. You don't call the GOAT old, dude. Okay. Also, hear me out, dude. WWE. Listen, I get it that he you'll let him go, but you need to appreciate. No, but that's another thing that I'm kind of upset about. I get that after you leave WWE doesn't give a shit about you. I get that. But if somebody dies and they've done something for your business, like, I don't know, the fucking Wyatt family, being part of the fucking Wyatt family, you could at least do some sort of, like, tribute to him. Like, thank you, or, like...
was there no graphic on Raw tonight?
I don't know about Raw, but I looked on their Instagram and stuff. I didn't see anything. I don't know about Raw.
They posted something on Twitter. I saw them post something on Twitter.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. Hey,
I was going to be...
you know what that means.
But yeah, they posted something on Twitter. I saw it. I saw it because I was looking in different places. Yeah, they posted something on Twitter. That it was that night. They were a little late, but it was that night.
No, yeah, they were a little behind on the distribute. Like, they were definitely not the first to distribute the information, but yes, they at least acknowledged it later that night. So I guess we could say, okay, attaboy a little bit, but you know.
Yeah, and they put a video together on their YouTube channel. I saw that too, Brandon. Thanks for that. But anyway, other than that, hopefully we'll be back with another video here soon. Of course, we got picks coming up at some point soon this week.
Bill in Narnia. I've tried to get him out. He just does not want to leave. I think he's getting a little too close with the lion, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's true, and the witch and the wardrobe. But nonetheless, we'll see you guys on the next video, whatever that may be. Of course, sending our thoughts, prayers, and good wishes to John Huber's family and his kids and everybody connected to him. That they can, of course, make it through the situation as hard as it may be. But we'll see you guys on the next video. Until next time.